Well, good afternoon from a very sweaty Sunday afternoon in Causeway Bay, where rather early protesters who are opposing the Hong Kong extradition law are leaving Victoria Park, well ahead of schedule actually. It's about 20 minutes to 3, but the police actually advised the organisers to scrap their press conference and let people out of Victoria Park, simply owing to the sheer number of people who've been turning up. And if you're around here anywhere in the area, you'll know, particularly with the MTR's crowd management controls, that things are pretty packed. Of course, Civil Human Rights Front, the organisers, they're hoping for about 500,000 people to turn up today. It could be biggest protest certainly since 2014, possibly since 2003. Did some maths on the back of an envelope. That's like 7% of the population. Certainly we're already seeing a huge turnout. Pro-Beijing lawmaker yesterday, Regina Ip, said that this protest would have no effect. The government and Carrie Lam have said this law will not be scrapped, but organisers today are hoping that this will send a message. We've seen a huge groundswell of opposition actually from all sectors of Hong Kong, some quite unexpected ones in fact. Lawyers, journalist groups, Carrie Lam, the chief executive's own electors, have been speaking up against this controversial extradition law, and those groups are either generally quite conservative or pro-establishment, or they're not meant to speak up. So that's why it's quite unprecedented, the level of opposition that we're seeing, not least from High Court Judge Patrick Lee yesterday, who was amongst those who signed a petition against the extradition bill. That was an HKU petition, but there's actually been hundreds of petitions that have been published over the last few weeks from quite obscure sectors of Hong Kong society, including aunties of the outlying islands, for instance. As of today, as of last night, we've seen some metal barricades erected around the legislature. That's going to be the end point. It may take 3 or 4 hours for everyone as they're coming out now with their placards to leave Victoria Park. We've seen placards with no China extradition. There's Carrie Lam, some with just the word emblazoned liar over it. This extradition law, of course, was tabled by the government in February. It was to tackle a puzzle whereby a Hong Konger was accused of murdering his girlfriend in Taiwan. Because there was no extradition agreement, it seemed that the local government sought to enact a new law or an update to the existing laws that would allow people to be extradited to countries where there were no pre-existing extradition agreement. That, of course, includes Taiwan and its difficult political status, and mainland China. And that's what, as you can see, protesters today are a bit concerned about. Quite a police presence, as yesterday there were 2 firebomb attacks against some police stations, no one injured, and no one has linked that to today's protest, but it may explain some heightened presence, but also it's a huge turnout too. So this is at the very start of the march. We're going to be following it for the next few hours on Twitter Live and Facebook Live, and we'll have a report up very soon as we observe all these different liberal, progressive, pro-democracy groups uniting, some quite unusual ones against the bill. Okay, stick with us. Bye-bye. So just outside the MTR at Causeway Bay and Tin Hau, there are Democrats rallying people. You can see the police have shut down one of the, this is the westbound lane. But there has been organisers urging them to shut down both lanes, owing to what they hope is going to be a huge turnout, perhaps 500,000 people. The last time we saw that kind of protest was in 2003. That was a perfect political storm owing to the Asian financial crisis, the SARS crisis in Hong Kong, and the ill-fated, much-hated Article 23 security law. And that led to the ousting of the first post-colonial leader, Tung Chee-hwa. Chants of scrap the evil law, oppose China extradition. As we're walking down into Hennessy Road, into Wan Chai, leaving Causeway Bay. I think before we end this broadcast, we'll have a quick look on that bridge there, as people are leaving Victoria Park a little bit early. Since the park was heaving, they'd opened up some of the grass there. the police recommended that they start the march prematurely. The MTR is not stopping at Causeway Bay and Tin Hau, we've just heard actually. The stations are so packed there, they've actually stopped the trains from letting people on and off at those stations. Pretty unprecedented. I think that speaks for itself that this is probably bigger than the extradition march we had a few weeks ago. So a lot of anger from different liberal groups, as well as more conservative ones in Hong Kong, and foreign governments, lawyers, journalists. They all fear that this law will be applied quite broadly and could lead to people facing trial in the mainland on perhaps quite spurious grounds, or that the law could be misused and people could be extradited on one charge and face other charges.
All the bridges. 我哋要行嚟入到個 police 我就睇明 marching。可以。咁快搞？
People handing out no extradition law flyers, some of them just emblazoned with Carrie Lam's face and liar. Just a few weeks ago, she was accused of lying in the legislature to her face. We're going to try and get over to the bridge so we can get a better view of people leaving Victoria Park.
有啊，學到佢全部都係同阿眾志同埋啲學生團體，佢哋都喺眾志未起，都係喺維園未起步。大學生團體咯，係啊，佢哋仲未起步。嗰站冇睇到喎，應該唔係佢，因為咧港大呢扎咧佢已經出咗去㗎啦，咩校友關注組嗰啲咧，之前已經出咗去㗎啦，教協嗰班咧。係啊，教協啊、港大啊嗰啲之前就已經出咗去㗎啦，咁依家就得翻呢個聯署唔見。 嗰班唔見啦。都唔見，因為我哋依家都係睇住呢個眾志同埋呢個學習權利，係啊，但係 WhatsApp 我哋收唔到啊，收到啲字。有冇打電話？係啊，我打俾你啊，用電話。